Let's call this meeting Haysville Planning Commission to order. First item of business is roll call.
Atcher, Azir,
Here.
Williams, Coleman,
Here.
Branken,
Here.
Plummer,
Here.
Flood.
Here. Next item of business is a presentation of approval of minutes of January 27, 2021. Should that be 2022? Yes. January 27, 2022.
2022.
I have some things that I need corrected on this as well.
Go ahead.
Are you ready, Jonathan?
Yep.
On page 2, under number 4, assisted living facilities are considered a residential type of land use. I think that should say then, and are required to provide.
Okay.
And then page 3, the sixth paragraph, in the center part of it, Coleman asked about if, I think about should be removed. And the continuing on that sentence, if the facility would have transportation, the next sentence says Perkins stated that it would not, I believe that he said that they would have transportation. So if you would check on that, please.
Okay, that's for clarification.
In the paragraph below that, there's an incomplete sentence. Black stated that no additional traffic to K Avenue.
All right.
Anything else?
I think that's all that I saw.
Motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes with the suggested changes.
Second.
And by confirming the issue on the transportation.
You still second with an addition?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve with those changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
There's no special order of business, right?
Correct.
Under new business, we have plat for Coppertail Edition of Haysville. You want to present that?
Good evening. Before you is the plat for the Coppertail Edition 2022-01. The agents, this was Mr. Harmon with, for the applicant, agents Ms. Millies was having for this from originally from, that was a zone change from commercial to zone B for 234 family dwelling. They're requesting a replat of Lot 1, Block G of the Old Oaks Estates in Haysville, Sedgwick County, Kansas, together along with Lot 2 of the Grand Second Edition of Haysville of Sedgwick County, Kansas, to be platted as Coppertail Edition. It is 12.5 acres, and the property is to be replatted so they can build duplexes and fourplexes on it. Staff is recommending the approval of the preliminary and final plat of the Coppertail Edition based on conformance with the Haysville subdivision regulations. The responses from the various utility companies are listed in the report before you. It was emailed out in PDF file in the final plat for the changes that were made. PEC utilized these recommendations and resubmitted them on February 22nd at about 10:30 in the morning for the final report. And the applicant is here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Or the applicant?
I have a question about the drainage.
Good evening. As Jonathan said, my name is Rebecca Melius. I'm the agent for the applicant with PEC, and I'm happy to answer any questions you've got. You said drainage?
Yeah, so on the 2.5 in the report, it talks about the channel bottom was proposed to be widened to the north approximately 40 feet, and then it gives an example.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna be 40 foot, straight, flat, bottomed?
No,
is it
not
retention,
quite.
Retention?
So the intent with that is we'll widen so if you might recall, just south of our proposed reserve on the south side of our property, there's an existing reserve that has the channel. We're proposing to widen as wide as within the 40 foot that we're dedicating as the reserve. So there will be a grade change. Obviously, we'll have some slope to that. It has not been fully designed at this point, so I don't know this. I can't speak to the specifics. The goal of that report was to confirm that a 40-foot allocation of space would be sufficient to be able to meet the drainage needs. So the final configuration of that will be potentially as wide as less than 40 because it'll be contained within that 40 feet. Does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just was curious if there was gonna be, because it just says channel, it doesn't necessarily, never says retention or detention in there, so if it was gonna have water or not, if it was gonna be dry.
So it'll be dry most of the time, as that channel is currently. The way that my understanding, and I am no drainage expert, but my understanding from our team that put the report together is that the way that condition exists today, the expanded area holds the detention as needed and then allows it to filter through. So it's not a perpetual retention. It's not going to hold water all of the time,
Yeah.
but it will slow the water down enough that it doesn't cause any downstream concerns with the added development.
And looking at it, it didn't say anything about any issues with that culvert that's underneath Marlin.
It doesn't, and it may be something that we actually look into a little closer as we finalize the design. So if it requires improvements, that's something that we would account for.
I was just, my reasoning behind that was, what is it gonna look like, you know, down the road? Is it gonna be a 4 foot tall muddy mess, or is it gonna be a
hope not.
pond, or is it, you know what I mean?
No, it should mirror very similar to what's existing, just a little bit wider at that spot.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I have one more.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
That's fine.
That's what I'm here for.
On the very top, I guess that'd be easier just to show.
The exceptions.
No,
Oh,
on
okay.
the, where the drive comes in and goes around and ends,
Yes,
there's no cul-de-sac there, so will that,
it's a proposed hammerhead.
okay.
So there will be, in lieu of a cul-de-sac there, it's a modified hammerhead to allow for the fire trucks to turn around because we're past that 150 foot. There's yes, so that'll
Yep.
cover that.
You answered that.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Any other questions? Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I would entertain a motion. Do you have questions, Deb?
I don't,
I thought that was your question face.
well. So. I'll make a recommendation to approve with modifications. Is that right? Is that what they're
I don't think there are any modifications. All of those comments were picked up
from the last?
on this copy, right?
Yeah.
We have a handful of remaining minor items for coordination with county surveying that will be picked up before the final Mylar goes to council, is our intent.
Okay.
So
So that's the modifications you were referring to?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
we'd agree with that, if my vote matters.
So I'll make a motion to approve the plat of Coppertail Edition as presented.
Recommend approval.
Recommend approval.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to recommend approval with the modifications. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? I abstain.
I abstain as well.
Next item of business is Sanchez addition to Sedgwick County.
Before you is plat 2022-02, plat of Sanchez Edition. The applicant, Mr. Alan Sanchez, and doing the survey with Mr. Mark Savoy. The acreage is 3.892 acres. It is zoned residential outside of city limits, but is within our area of influence. The property is located west of South Seneca Street and south of 87th Street South and north of West 95th Street South. The applicant owns the property and wants to build a home there. It was last sold in 2018 and is outside the Haysville city limits but within our area of influence. And according to our subdivision regulations, the property must be platted. Staff is recommending approval of the preliminary and final plat of the Sanchez Edition based on conformance to the Haysville subdivision regulations. Responses from the utility companies concerning this addition are in your packets before you. Mr. Savoy utilized these recommendations on the preliminary and final plat and resubmitted this on February 22nd at 3:25 in the afternoon for the final report. And he is here to answer any further questions you may have.
Any questions for staff or the applicant? Any general discussion? Perchance a motion?
I move to approve the preliminary and final plat of Sanchez Edition.
To recommend approval?
Recommend approval.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second to recommend approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No old business, no correspondence,
No.
Committee updates?
I would.
No committee updates? Are you the last committee? Okay. Off agenda?
Off agenda, the conditional use for the assisted living plant center was passed by city council back on the 14th. And our next meeting will be March 24th.
Okay. Item 10?
I'd make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you,
I'll
Debbie.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark.
You bet.